Welcome back to the Real and Raw podcast. I'm your host, Kyle. This is my co-host, Paul.
Hello.
Today, we're going to jump right into it. No messing about. So the subject for today is why is having leadership skills as a man important? Okay? So what I'm going to do is first, we're going to touch into like why we feel like this is important. So what do you think?
Right. So the world is run by leaders.
Mm-hmm.
As the saying goes, if you're not leading, then you're following.
Speaks for itself.
So in this day and age,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be a leader in order to achieve great things.
Mm-hmm.
And having the skills of a leader will put you ahead
Mm-hmm.
of pretty much the pack.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
To get to your goals.
I have a quick question just to kind of get into it like quickly. Do you think you can still achieve great things without leading?
No.
No.
I mean, look.
It depends what you consider great things, isn't it?
There you go. So great things is relative.
Yeah.
Being a good husband is a great thing. Being a good father is a great thing.
But you would say that being a good husband is technically, is leading in its own right. If you're being a good husband.
Well, it depends.
If you're being a little bitch and you're not being a good husband.
It depends what the woman wants from you.
Yeah.
The woman might want you to be submissive, in which case her view of what is a good husband might be different. So it's subjective.
Yeah.
But in general, being a leader is going to put you ahead of the pack. And if you're not a leader, in general, you cannot achieve what most people consider to be great things.
I've got another question, actually. You just prompted this on.
Yeah.
You said that being a leader puts you ahead of the pack. So some could say being a leader puts you in front of the pack, leading the pack, right?
Yeah.
Can you have multiple people leading the same pack?
Yes.
Okay, that's that. I think I would say yes as well, because if you've got someone, for example, that's into, I don't know, calisthenics.
Yeah.
Chances are they're going to have 2-3 people that are, calisthenics masters that they all appreciate.
Yeah.
Which means, therefore, all 3 of these people are leading this one person, this pack of calisthenics people that like that stuff. Right. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
As usual. I want you to answer this at the end of the podcast. Okay. And the question is, can a man really call himself a leader if no one follows him? Or if no one is willing to follow him?
Yeah, I've got that.
You writing it down?
Yeah. I'm gonna be the first one to remember the exact question.
You're gonna be the first one to refer to something you wrote down. Paul said at the start, I'm gonna remember this question. He's not remembering it. Let's be real. He's writing it down. Guys,
however you get it done, just get it done.
Yeah, use this as a tipper in the future. It's so important to write notes. Okay. So you got that one, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it. So, when did you first feel like a leader? Can you remember like a specific time or like sort of an age or even an experience where you first felt like a leader?
Right.
Or even realized that you wasn't one yet?
Right. So, I'll tell you when I first felt like a leader, and then I'll tell you when I first was put in a leadership position, but maybe wasn't fully ready for the leadership role. And then I'll tell you when I knew I was a leader and I was ready.
I would say putting you in a position of a leadership role, not being ready, kind of gets you ready for being a leader, though, doesn't it?
Not necessarily. Like, there's certain people that I've put in leadership roles
and they've just fell short.
Because they're just not leaders. They're just not up to the task. So, secondary school football team. We was playing a match, and I was the captain of the football team anyway, so that's a leadership role.
Yeah.
And it was a role that I'll tell you how you know you're a good leader, and this is part of the answer to the question as well. Well, not how you know you're a good leader, but how you know you're a leader.
How you know you're leading in general.
How you know you're leading in general, and how you know you are a leader. I'd even say it that blatantly. How you know you're a leader is when it's time to stand up, or it's time to be counted, it's time to do something big, or it's time to show your character.
Like an opportunity.
Yeah, not necessarily an opportunity, but just a chance to shine
Okay.
in something, and everybody looks to you to be that person, to show them the way.
Yeah.
So obviously I was the captain of the football team. We was playing a match. This was in Hackney Marshes, and this was the semi-final of the county football cup or whatever. And then we had a penalty, and I shit you not, I was so nervous when we had this penalty because I did not want to take this penalty. My legs were shaking. In my head, I was like, I will miss this shot for sure. And everyone was like, oh, come on, Paul, let's do it. It's like literally all my teammates, they didn't even question who was going to take the penalty. It's like they just all pointed at me. Come on, Paul, you got this, you got this. And I was, in my head, I was like, guys, in my head, I didn't say it out, but in my head, I was like, guys, you are choosing the wrong person. I am nervous. Like, I'm going to miss this penalty for sure. Like, I could just feel the nerves in all my body. And then, obviously, I think I'm a natural born leader because for some reason, I didn't say no. I wasn't like flat out, no, I'm not doing it. Someone else needs to take the penalty. I'll always step up if I'm called to step up. So, I'm sure you lot are interested to find out whether I actually made the penalty now. But, so everyone was like, yeah, Paul, you got this, you got this, you got this. So, got to the penalty spot, put the ball down. This was going to win the match. It was going to be in a final. Put the ball down and literally stood back. I'm building up. Stood back. Stood back. Took my run up. I got all my teammates behind me. The opposition behind me. The referee to my side. And the goalkeeper in front of me. And I've got the few fans that we had looking.
The stadium.
Yeah, the stadium looking at me. And took my run up. Dum, 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 dum. Tried to kick the ball, but I tripped over. And I literally, like, hit the ball way to the side, like, completely off target. Missed the penalty. We ended up losing. But the interesting thing is, when I missed the penalty, I was so gutted. I was so disappointed in myself. But all my teammates were like, it doesn't matter that you missed. And these are really competitive people. And these are people that are like, they'll tell you, they'll have a go at you for missing normally. They were like, well, no one else, like, there was no one else that was going to take it. You were the only one that could take it. So they weren't even disappointed that I missed. They still felt like I was the only one that could have taken it.
And if you didn't get it, then they couldn't have.
Yeah, basically. So that was the first time I was put.
And I suppose that's a good way to, if you've got people that are looking up to you, that even when you do something, like say, even when you fail at something, they don't even question you. That's how you know that you're leading, because they're truly believing in you. Yeah. They're not bothered. They're still there.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how you built that. That's nice.
And a little bit more about leadership skills is, if, let's say, there was to be 2 armed robbers on a plane, and I was to be on that plane, I think more than likely, I would probably be one of the first people to think of risking my life to save that plane. It's just like a natural instinct.
I think I'm the same. I wouldn't sit there and think like, how can I protect myself and keep myself safe in a situation? I'd be thinking, what can I do to help this plane?
Yeah.
Instantly. That was what had come
Yeah.
to my brain.
I would be thinking, how can I save us from this situation?
So I'm interested, like, if you've got a plane, let's assume that you've got a plane of, I don't know how many people in a plane, let's say it's 100 people, probably more. Let's assume that 50 of those people are men. How many of those men do you think would think, let's say there's 2 people on a plane with a knife, right? How many of those guys do you think would think, what can I do to protect these people on this plane, even though it's putting myself at risk of getting stabbed? And how many do you think would be like, I need to do what these guys say, how can I protect myself, and just really like sort of cower back from it?
I think the leaders on that plane will be thinking of...
How many do you think that is? Because it's strange, because I can't think of
it's impossible
thinking any other way.
It's impossible to tell. That's impossible to tell without knowing the people personally. But
could you have it? Is it surely having let's say a plane of like, even if it was like 30 leaders on one plane, seems too high, doesn't it?
100%.
But then again, when these things have happened, it's only usually like
one or two
people that actually even think, that try and do something in it.
Yeah, it's always going to be. So there's not many leaders in the world, you know, like if you look at it just as a ratio, you know, how many presidents are there, how many CEOs are there, how many business owners are there, how many captains are there, it's always going to be 5%, 4%, maybe less, you know.
Do you think that leaders tend to be around leaders as well? Like, so say for example, if you've got a president who's a leader, then I would say that the people underneath him, let's say in America, you've got like the head of different departments that work closely with the president. They're all leaders in their own rights as well.
In their own rights, yeah. So, but this is the thing. There's levels to leadership as well.
Right. Okay, you know, that's interesting.
Yeah, there's levels to leadership, and also, like I said, there's what you call natural born leaders. I think we've touched on this before. There's what you call natural born leaders, and then there's what you call people that learn.
This was my next question I was going to get to. Do you think leadership is a natural trait or a skill anyone can learn?
I think leadership in its core is a natural trait.
But it can be learned. Yeah, okay.
It came for me naturally.
I think that's the same thing in everything, come to think about it. If you've got a basketball player, some of the best basketball players in the world were just naturally gifted at basketball, and some of them just trained so much that they became some of the best in the world.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same in a lot of different things, isn't it?
It is the same in a lot of different things, but it's a bit different, I'd say, when it comes to leadership, because again, it's leadership is an instinct. It's like, it's something that for the majority of it, it's something that's in you.
Yeah.
And it's something, if you don't have it naturally, it's something that we would encourage you to definitely work on and build.
To some degree. Do you think that leadership, people that are just like actual like born leaders, let's say, do you think people that are born leaders are born because it's a part of the DNA, maybe handed down from a family, or do you think it's because their father was a leader and they picked up leadership habits from such an early age that it became a normal part of their being? So where do you think the natural leadership skills came from?
Natural leadership skills.
Do you think it's just something you're born with in your DNA?
I think it must be born in the DNA, isn't it? But I wouldn't really say my dad was a leader, to be fair. I'd say my mum was.
It could be mum or dad.
I'd say my mum's like definitely a leader. Like she's definitely a...
Or it might not even be mum or dad. It's just your role model as a child.
Yeah. I think the biggest tenet of a leader is being able to think for yourself.
Yes.
So being able to differentiate yourself from the pack. Being able to go right when everyone else is going left because you assessed it and right seemed like the right way to go. This is what makes you a leader.
I would say a good analysis is just stop for a second and have a think about your life. In your life, are you doing mostly the same things that everyone else is doing? Yeah? Well, then you're not leading, because to lead, you have to be doing different things to everybody else that's around you.
Yeah. And with the world we live in nowadays, every basically nearly all the highest paying jobs
Mm-hmm.
are leadership roles. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
CEOs, regional manager,
Influencers.
head of finance. It's always, the title is always a leadership title.
So like even like social media influencers. Let's take Andrew Tate for example. He's leading a community of men,
Yeah,
and that's what's led him to his, let's say, status and a lot of his success.
yes, exactly. And again,
Because leading doesn't necessarily mean like because you're a president and you're leading an entire country. You can be leading if you've got two people that you know you're leading. Like we said before, a family. If you're leading a family, it's still technically a form of leading. But it's
Of
like you
course.
said, there's scales to it. There's levels to it.
there's levels to it, and not everyone in a leadership position is a leader. I think there's definitely people that have been in leadership positions
Yeah.
that are not leaders.
I think we've all probably witnessed that to an extent, haven't we? A lot of people have worked in jobs where, you know, the people in the management position is just like,
You're like,
what are you doing?
you're like, I'm very uninspired by this person.
Uninspired. If you have a group, if your work colleagues and this group of workers have no respect for the person that's managing, then their leadership skills aren't up to scratch.
Exactly. And again, there's being a leader and then there's being a good leader. So there's two things as well. So what we encourage you guys, we always encourage you guys to be good leaders, because you can have those leadership skills in you and you can have those leadership instincts within you, or you could have trained it, but there's what we call good leaders, bad leaders. You could be a bad leader. You could be a leader that leads people to doing illegal stuff, negative stuff, feeling negative emotions and doing bad things in general. Or you could be a leader that leads people in a positive way, that leads people, inspire people to do better, inspire people to be better and to chase greatness. So what we, with this particular subject, we're talking about leaders that lead people in the right way, leaders that lead people to success. What we want you guys to work on, what we're working on ourselves, because none of us are perfect. What we're working on ourselves and encouraging you guys is, you need to work on these fundamental leadership qualities that will put you at the front of every aspect of your life. So I would say one of the qualities of a leader is a leader takes responsibility for not only their actions, but other people's actions as well. That's a big thing.
So you could say like, it doesn't matter what happens. Let's say something happens and it's not your fault. Usually you're blaming it's not my fault. They did that.
Yeah.
But it's just about saying like, do you know what? Doesn't matter whose fault it is. It's happened. Now we're just going to work past it and then crack on and basically continue doing what we're doing.
Yes, that's a part of it. But also, if we're in a workplace, and me being a natural leader, if we're in a workplace and I can see things are going wrong or people are doing the wrong thing around me, I'm automatically going to try to help them and to try to give them some guidance. It's just instinctual.
Yeah. I've got a question to lead on from that.
Yeah.
So it's a funny little question. What's the difference between leading and just being bossy?
The difference between leading and being bossy is the intention. So again, we say...
But the intentions is... You could have the same intention either way, couldn't you? Because I know for me personally, I've tried to give people advice, let's say on so I eat super healthy, right? I tried to give people some kind of like a little bit of nutritional advice and stuff like that before, out of good intentions to help people. But it's come across a little bit bossy and a little bit like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but think about when you're genuinely trying to help someone. Yeah. If you're genuinely trying to help someone, you try to get your message across in a way that they'll be able to receive it.
Isn't that just the way that you act, like the way you act on your intention though? Because there's efficient ways of doing it, which I think is basically saying, if I just throw this down into someone's face and say this is what you need to do, people don't react well to that.
No, but this is the thing. That's why I said you need to work out how to get your message across in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Because some people do need that straightforward,
Yeah.
direct communication.
Some people respond well to just being told what to do.
Exactly.
Some people you need to make them feel like they're thinking it to begin with.
Yeah, and some people you need to be a bit more calmer with. You need to be a bit more you need to be a bit more savvy with how you speak to them.
So a good leader reads his audience.
A good leader must know that what makes the people he's leading tick. You understand? So if you're dealing with, I just use an example. I don't really know this guy at all, apart from what I've seen on TV or whatever. But I would imagine someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, if you're his manager, I don't think he's going to respond well to you just saying, do this, do that, do this, do that. I think he's someone that you would need to sort of get your message across in a way that makes him...
You need to tell him why.
Feel good. Yeah, you need to tell it. He needs to understand why you're asking him for what you're asking, and you need to let him know that you value, let's say, his contribution or whatever. So you need to know when you're dealing with people with egos, when you're dealing with...
Egos is a big thing, I think.
You know, you need to know your audience, basically. So, again, when we're talking about characteristics of leadership, that's another characteristic. You need to know your audience. If you're going to be an effective leader, you must know your audience. I'd say another characteristic of a good leader is good leaders always lead from the front.
What does that mean?
So when we say lead from the front, if I say, Kyle, I would like you to make 50 calls to 50 clients this week. As a leader, I should be able to make 70 calls to 70 clients that week. You should be able to see in me that what I'm asking you to do is something that I'm able to do myself.
This is something that leading by example.
Leading by example.
I believe so strong. I believe that you can get people to, do you know, touching on like eating properly and stuff like that, or whatever it is, right? If you're an out of shape person and you're telling someone how to get in shape,
it doesn't make sense, does it?
People are going to be like, what the fuck?
So you're going to tell me what you're not doing.
Or even if you're in shape and you're telling people to get in shape, but if you're in shape and you're just, you know, making sure that your type of that type of stuff is around these people are going to think, do you know what? That person's inspiring me to just want to be in shape.
Yeah.
So leading by example is definitely so important, I think.
That's a big characteristic. You've got to lead.
Actions before words.
Yeah. You've got to lead by example. And a good leader always makes sure that he brings people up. Like, he lifts people. He never puts people down. He never tries to demean people or make them feel small. He always tries to lift people. Again, when you lift people, some people are going to respond more to direct communication. Some people are going to need to be a bit more savvy of how you communicate with them. But essentially, either way, you're giving them positives. You're lifting them. You're not bringing them down. So that's another huge thing.
At the end of the day, leading should be all about, you know, bringing like good values and doing it for the good anyway, to try and make people feel better or, you know, do better in their life.
Yeah, for sure.
So good intentions is definitely something that's important with leading, I think.
Yeah. And why we tell you all these things with the leadership stuff is, again, every single aspect of your life, whether it's your relationship. Look, the majority of families that are doing well, it's because there's a leader leading that relationship. Obviously, in this modern day and age, it could be the woman, it could be the man. But generally, when we talk about leadership from the past, and when we talk about the majority of cases, when something's working, there's a leader that's leading whatever it is correctly. So if it's in your relationship, you're leading your relationship correctly. You're inspiring your partner to have faith in you, to have trust in you, to follow your direction, whether it's in business, you're leading your team, you're leading your managers, you're leading every person in your organization to do better for the organization, to do better for the customers, whether it's your friend group. You want to be the person that they know when Kyle says whatever Kyle says, we can take that to the bank. You want to be that guy that when you say, let's do this, your voice weighs more than everyone else. You know what I'm saying? If everyone,
I like that.
Yeah.
Make sure your voice weighs more than everyone else, because that's the way. That's the only way you're gonna get heard.
yeah, but it's not. You can't even just make sure of it. It's a thing where people either respond to you more than they respond to other people. That's another sign. If when you say something, everyone's like, oh, forget him. You already know that you're not a leader.
Do you think there's almost like a competition or a battle between people wanting to lead, or even egos can get involved sometimes?
Yeah, egos can definitely get involved, but people naturally, like, if 20 guys was to be in this room right now,
That would be a very tight room.
it would be a very tight room. If 20
That
guys
would be very uncomfortable.
if 20 guys was to be in this room right now, and we were just to spend 6 hours together, just talking about any random shit,
Yeah.
by the end of the 6 hours, people looking from the outside would be able to say, that guy seems like a leader. That guy seems like a leader, and that guy seems like a leader.
Or at least, like, put it in order of who has the most leadership influence down to who has the least.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, even the people from the outside can see it, but even the people in the room would be able to tell you, you know what? I really like Kyle, or I really like Paul. I feel like...
Do you think leaders can spot leaders? Do you think leaders recognize leaders?
No, I think people recognize leaders. Leaders can also recognize leaders, but in general, people recognize leaders. Okay. So people will be, by the end of that 6 hours, people will be able to say, this is someone that I think is a leader. This is someone that I'd probably be willing to follow. This is someone that I could probably trust, or whatever else. So just putting it in that aspect, you can see how important it is to develop those skills. Yeah. You don't have to be born with it, but you must develop it. You must develop it.
If you want to get further in life, for sure.
If you want to get further in life, for sure.
Yeah. Right, so we're running out of time, but I just want you to give, we spoke a lot about the importance of it, for sure. Let's keep, what's one small way young guys, or millennial guys, can start doing from today to lead more in their lives, even if no one's watching?
Right. That's a very, very, very good question.
And I think it's important even if no one's watching, because if you're doing it only when people are watching, then, it's kind of not practicing what you preach. You need to make sure that it's hardwired into you that, you're doing this all the time. Yeah.
I think that's a really good question,
Just one small,
it's a really good,
actionable...
The reason why it's a really good question is because I've never had to, because it comes natural for me, I've never had to actually think of what someone could do. Right, I would say just do the opposite now and again, like maybe once every month. Just do the opposite of whatever your friends are doing. Just or just say no when everyone else is saying yes. Just learn to do something different from everyone else.
I would say the same. So Paul is a natural born leader for sure. I can see that. I've said that since I first met Paul. I would say I wasn't a natural born leader, but I've definitely picked up a lot over time, more in the recent years. Yeah. And my advice would be very much similar, to be honest. Yeah.
Just say no. Like, if all your friends are going out on a weekend, just be the one person. Even if you want to go out, just be the one person that's like, I'm gonna stay home, lads.
And I think the reason is as well, if you're constantly doing what everybody's doing, people don't go. So there's a couple of things that I do recently, right, where people go, Kyle, that's weird. Why do you do that? People don't do that. With the stuff that, like, fitness stuff or health stuff or whatever.
Even the drinking stuff. Yeah. That's leadership.
Don't drink, it's weird. Now, if you can say, do you know what? I recognize you might think it's a bit strange to not do this because it's culturally normal to do that. I'm going to say, fuck you, I'm doing it. Okay, you won't say that. I'm going to do it anyway, right? Now, people are going to say, oh, this guy has just said no to a cultural norm.
Yeah.
So if he's got the strength to do that, then, you know, if there's something that I want to do, which everybody has stuff they want to do that they're scared of doing because of, you know, people thinking it might be weird or whatever. If you do that and you say no and you keep doing that, people are going to be like, do you know what? If Kyle or Paul can say no to that, even though it looks a little bit, you know, strange to other people, I could do it to this thing. And you're going to be teaching people to do stuff that they want to do, even though it's seen as a little bit like, you know, unorthodox or whatever. That's leading.
I'm going to give you an example of something that you've been doing recently. That's a massive sign of leadership is when you went out with your family or whatever, you didn't drink. And that was uncomfortable. You could have easily just went with the pack, but you said, nope, I'm trying to do this thing for myself.
Exactly.
That's a sign of leadership. That's you developing your leadership skills to be able to go a different direction than everyone else.
There you go. So that's something you can start that today. Just pick one thing, because everybody has it. We know you've had it. Pick one thing that you've wanted to do for a while. For me, I wanted to climb trees because I always thought it's weird. I go for a walk and I walk up. I always thought it's weird to just climb a tree or whatever. Do you know what? Not long ago, I did it. And at first it was felt really uncomfortable because I thought if someone sees me. Now I don't give a shit. If I want to climb a tree, I've got rid of the urge a little bit now. I don't do it quite as much. But if I want to do it, I'll do it. And do you know what? That inspires people. It makes people feel like, do you know what? I can do stuff I want to do. So pick one thing that you want to do. Could be anything. Could be small. And just do it. If you can, do it in front of people that will question it. And when they question it, say, do you know what? I understand that like it might be seen as a little bit unorthodox or whatever, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's something I want to do. And just start by doing that. You can do that once a day. You could do that even if it's once a week. But that's one step, one actionable step for you to becoming more of a leader. And
your solo holiday, that's another thing to do.
It's another thing.
You cannot be a hardcore follower and go on a solo holiday. I think that is a bit of a sign of a leader as well. You developing your leadership skills, being able to go on a holiday by yourself. You've done that.
Yeah, and you've done that. And I think to be a leader, you have to be able to spend time on your own and trust yourself. Because to be a leader, you can't trust other people. You have to put all your trust into yourself. Because you're at the front of the pack, there's only you. And then people are going to, use you as inspiration. So you have to be able to trust yourself in the things that you do. And solo holidays, there's nothing that teaches you more trust in yourself than that, because you're literally doing everything on your own.
Yeah.
And meeting people and stuff like that. Right, let's get to that question. Go on, you wrote it down. You can remember it. Oh, he's not remembering. We've clarified that.
I can't remember it. But let me rack my brain.
Okay, so I'll say it first.
No, I got it. So the question is, can a man really call himself a leader if he has no followers? I'm gonna say no. I hate saying no or yes to stuff because life is always there's always bits of grays with everything. But I'm gonna say no. The reason why I'm gonna say no is because leader, follower.
A leader has to be leading something.
A leader has to be leading something. You can't be a leader if there's nothing to lead or if you're not leading anything.
Yeah.
So, that's the answer to that.
But the good thing about that is that if you feel like, and by the way, sometimes you can think that you're not a leader and you're not leading anything, but actually there's people that, are inspired by you that you don't even realize actually are. You could have some form of leadership skills without even realizing it. So it's always good to reflect on these things and, it's always good to reflect so you can actually see clearly what you're doing.
I'm gonna change my answer in that actually. Can you call himself a leader if he has no followers? I'm gonna change my answer in that because we've just said if you go on a solo holiday, that's leadership. Like you're showing some leadership skills there. Is that not just practicing leadership skills though, as opposed to leading? No, I'd say that's showing leadership skills. Because you've taken the initiative to do something that takes courage. Yeah. By yourself.
And if you're showing leadership skills, then I guess in a way you're a leader.
You're a leader.
It just means that do you know what? You are a motherfucking leader. It just means that you haven't found I'm not going to call them followers, but it just means that you haven't found your tribe yet. And at some point you keep leading, you keep practicing it, they'll find you. They'll be drawn to you like a magnet.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good place to end it.
Right. That's a good one. Like that. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, like, share, subscribe, do all that usual stuff. Leave a couple of comments. We like replying to those.
Yeah.
And we're going to see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.